So my name is Chris Mullet-Koop. I'm in the town of Jordan, which is located in the town of Lincoln in the Niagara region. Um, Fifth generation egg farmer, grape grower, living in the original family farmhouse on the Niagara Escarpment bench here. We've got 57 acres designated greenbelt area. We're part of the 20 Mile Creek watershed, surrounded by Escarpment Natural Area to the north, Bruce Trail access, 100-year floodplain to the south of us, conservation lands to the east and west. So we're in a very sensitive area, I guess you would call it. Vineyards, I guess we have 45 acres planted, a total of 57 acres, including headlands and buildings. We've got 2 poultry barns also with different types of housing systems that cater to pullet rearing as well as mature laying hens for egg production. And what else? I'm a counselor for the Egg Farmers of Ontario, and I'm also as of this year, president of the Niagara Federation of Agriculture. That's a little bit about where we are situated and who I am. So I thought about those challenges, and because I answered this question from my own experience and perspective, being both involved with poultry and vineyards. So what I found to be the 3 biggest challenges, I listed them as number 1 was labor and other inputs, which is, I know it's broad spectrum and a lot of people would probably share that as a challenge, but that is my challenge. Mostly in the vineyards, but there's a lot of inputs in the poultry side too that they're making things challenging. The second thing I would say is with regard to policy, and policy in 2 different ways, with regards to trade, as well as policy in terms of land use. And I mean, if you want, we can go further into that. But I mean, there's so much to talk about there. That would be my second challenge. And the third one, and these aren't in order of importance, by the way. The third one I would say is challenges related to climate change. So those are the 3 that I pinned out as the greatest challenges for. I think my sectors would share some of those too. They might vary a little bit, but that's from my perspective, my own challenges. I would say for sure climate change, that's significant. It seems that that's understood to be ongoing into the present and long-term future. So that will definitely be a challenge. And I still think labor is a large one there as well. So I would say those 2. I mean, the other one I mentioned too I think they're all 3 of them are actually significant in my opinion going forward. Those kinds of things come from a lot of the stuff that we were restricted we didn't participate in the last 2 years because of COVID restrictions. Like when you're part of things like, well, this week we have the fruit and vegetable convention in Niagara Falls, where you meet industry partners and businesses, and you see lots of innovation and technology and vineyard. I'm speaking about the vineyard piece. I mean, on the poultry side, we have the London Poultry Show, which has much of the same there. And we haven't been in attendance of those events for a couple of years, but those kinds of events. And then, I mean, there's all kinds of resources. I'm thinking, Poultry Industry Council, in terms of biosecurity, disease management, loading and transport. There's lots of webinars and information and education there. OMAFRA as an organization has lots of online resources. When we're dealing with, say, nutrient management or manure management and feeding and nutrition, poultry. So those are resources I've used. COVI is another cool climate oenology and viticulture institute at Brock University. It has all kinds of resources for us, online resources, virus testing. There's a vinyl alert system that we can tap into that monitors temperature across the Niagara region. We've got lots of weather stations, those kinds of things. I mean, VRIC is right next to us here in Vineland. The Vineland Research, what's that stand for? Research and Innovation Center. So they, when it comes to plant variety development, crop protection or automation, they also have resources for us. And so I mean, there's probably more I've missed, but those kinds of places are where I seek and find innovative ideas about how to address issues on our farm and things going forward, dealing with some of the challenges that I even just discussed. Most of the innovation is labor related in terms of minimizing labor. It's mechanization. I think that's been the biggest thing. Some examples on the poultry side. We have, an all-inclusive environmental monitoring system that basically is computer controlled. You can run it from your phone. You can set up your own custom alarms and monitor things very closely, and within small windows. You can create your maxes and mins, and that's reduced a lot of necessary labor time, having others, it's really a time use thing. And also say in the vineyard, I guess a lot of mechanization is also labor reducing. For example, we have a variety called Riesling that require a lot of different tasks throughout the growing season. From and it has a trellis system, and the vines grow on this trellis system, and you start in the winter by pruning. It's all handwork, and then after you prune, you tie. After you tie, when the shoots start to come out, you have to shoot thin, and also once the shoots get large enough, the bunches start forming, and then you have to bunch thin, which is all pinching off and hand labor as well. And then as the shoots get even longer, you start to tuck them and wind them up the trellis, which is also hand labor. And you do that tucking or shoot positioning about 2 or 3 times a season. And then you also remove leaves later on in the season from the fruit zone to allow airflow, because we, just to have that airflow to keep the disease pressure out of the bunches. And that's also, hand leaf pulling is just unbelievably costly and time consuming. So in the past 10 years, we have leaf pullers, we have bunch thinning. You can do that with harvest equipment now, and there's also pre-pruning things that you can. It doesn't do a full pruning job, but that kind of mechanization. We're also looking. Our cousins have just purchased a shoot positioning machine. It's fairly new technology, and I'm not sure how well it's going to work initially, but feeling the need to look into something like that too, because in the past 2 years it's been hard to find labor, and it's also such a time sensitive thing that if you can't find labor at the right time, it's detrimental. So we're looking at some of that technology. So that's a long answer to, I'd say that labor, machinery for labor is one of the biggest innovations that's helped us moving forward. Innovation in all those 3 categories of challenge that I said at the beginning would be, that's much needed. So if they can somehow address those, that's pretty critical. Climate change and the environment and labor and inputs and policy, food policy, land use, trade. Those are key challenges that require innovative responses, I guess. And so if you can somehow address them in new and innovative and, out of the box ways, that would be great. Well, the first one I think of is cost. That's often the challenge because some of the robotic technology is quite costly, but so is labor. And so those numbers are coming closer to each other and making it more feasible.